I'm at the Hotel Angelino at the corner of Sunset and the 405, which is of particular significance to me. I checked into the hotel again because I'm sort of processing my grief. I stayed here for 35 days after the Palisades fires, where the staff was like unbelievably nurturing and supportive, and like things as simplistic as hugs got me through the day in a way that I don't think I would have been able to do so if they hadn't have humanized my grief and what I was going through. And I just think it's really important, irrespective of how many days go by, that we still continue to talk about how we feel and our sense of loss, and hopefully building community in what we've collectively endured. And I think that's why I really want to do a deep dive into what it means to grieve and what it means to lose.
I came to live in my parents' vacation property like 30 plus years ago, and all of my summer friends had their fall friends, and it was so difficult to come senior year to Pali High, and your husband was in my 4th period English class, slouched down in the seat with his black, what was it? It was a Mustang, I think.
Oh yes, he loves Mustangs, or so I heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was like just a force of nature, that he was befriended me and gave me advice, and I cried about like boys that I had left behind, and he was like helping me get my life together. And even so much as I worked at Benton's on Swarthmore, and I used to walk home, and one time he stopped, he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" and gave me a ride. So he felt very older brother to me, and just a really wonderful person. What happened with him, Lily?
How did he pass? He was night surfing with his brother, which when there was a full moon, he loved to go do that. His autopsy says drowning, but then it also notes that 3 of his arteries were very badly clogged, and they believe that he had a heart episode and passed out in the water, and then the drowning happened.
I'm so sorry. How long ago was that?
This December, it'll be 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess 6.5 years.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
So you were left as a single mother to 2 children.
Yes.
How did you navigate that?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I always say that my kids are my compass. And, you know, it's like in every like therapy, coaching, whatever, they always say like, what's your priority? And my kids just became my priority. And I needed to be okay for them. You know, I really felt like if I fell apart, then they would fall apart. But if I was okay, they would be okay. So after like the shock of it all wore off, because it was such a shock for me, for the kids, for the whole community, honestly, because Damon was the picture of health, you know.
Surfer,
skateboarder,
active,
you know, fit. After the shock wore off, I just made it my mission to, I remember I had, you know, my personality is such that whenever something bad happens or traumatic happens or sad happens, I want to run. And I wanted to sell the house and go to North Carolina, because that's where my parents are. That's where I was from the age of 13 to 22. So I felt like it's something familiar. We can get the money out of the house. And to me, I was like, let's just go start a new life, because this life as we knew it is over, you know? And I proposed it to the kids, who, gosh, were 7 and 9 at the time, close to 8 to 10. And they freaked out. You know, they were not on my let's run vibe.
Wow.
And to them, I think they wanted to stay as close, as familiar to Damon and home as possible, you know? So I made that my mission of keeping the house, staying in the house. I wasn't making any money at the time, so it was like racking my brain of how am I going to do this? And look, it's been 6.5 years. I figured it out so far. Really, that got me through this big loss, and this feeling of like, how am I going to do this? I wouldn't have been able to do it without my community. I say I figured it out, but I figured it out with a lot of people's help.
When you see your community, Lily, who does that include?
The Palisades.
Palisades.
Definitely the Palisades.
Your extended family, your friends, the people that you had been around, the parents who you were raising the children with.
Absolutely.
You guys were in that house where you and Damon were when the fires happened?
Yes.
Tell me about that day.
Living especially in the Highlands, we were kind of used to evacuating.
Right.
I have a takeaway safe with all the, important documents. We had a protocol of like pack 1 or 2 things, grab the dogs, get their dog bed, get a couple of days of dog food. So we were kind of used to the routine. I wasn't home, but I was pretty close to home. And the kids, thank goodness, were not in school. Some kids were in school, which I think made it really, it's amazing that Pali High was not in session.
Wow.
Because if it would have been in session, that would have added so much more to the pandemonium.
Right.
So I kind of was like, okay, guys, like I rushed up the hill. I'm like, let's get our stuff together. We tried to leave. And my daughter's driving, so I had her drive in front of me, and I was behind her, so we could get everything in the car, the dogs, and my son is a big surfer, and so he wanted to grab a couple of surfboards. So she was in front of me, and we were on the phone with each other the whole time. And Palisades Drive was backing up, and I remember I told her, go to the wrong lane. Let's try to get out that way. So we tried to go out that way, and then we got stuck that way, and then literally fire just started going off on both sides of us, and I just yelled at her. I'm like, before we got stuck, I was like, turn around, go home. Because on our street, it looked like if you were looking at my house on my street, to the right you could see the fire blazing down but away from us, and on the other side it was like nothing was even happening.
Wow.
So I don't know, I felt safe at home rather than trying to be stuck through the fire, So we went back home, and we were there for probably another 3-4 hours, and I was doing laundry, and a lot of people on our street were there, and we were all kind of checking in with each other. And then I heard from a friend that you could get out, and later in the afternoon, like around 3 or 4, we were able to get out, but we literally were driving through the fire out. So yeah, it was crazy.
This is a very strange question, but do you think the grief that you experienced before and having to revamp your life after Damon's death prepared you for this?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think there was a part of me of come on, give me a break.
Yeah, for sure.
It was, now I am at a certain point where we're actually back in the house, because my house did survive. And not only did my house survive, but as a majority of my neighborhood survived too. So it's not like I went back to a house where my house is standing, but my whole block is gone, because that's very difficult to go back to.
Right.
There's only one house that burned in my neighborhood, 2 doors down from me. So, and the fire came super close to my house. It actually was right behind my house, but it stopped. So I do have a base that I feel like, okay, I'm back on steady ground. But for the first few months after the fire, it was very much this, again, trying to refigure out what's my new normal. And I don't know if I honestly felt prepared. I think I was really mad and sad that I had to go through this all over again.
Because it's another trauma on
top.
And the children, how are they dealing?
They're happier, I think, now that they're home. The beginning was very, very difficult, because this, the community that helped me also helped them. This was a place where they felt like they belonged with their friends, with all the different places that they would go to, and then again it was snatched away. So the beginning was very difficult, and I remember my son kept saying, I just want to go home, I just want to go home, and I would just keep reminding him, letting him have his feelings, but keep reminding him that at least we have a home to go back to.
That's good.
So I think now that we are home, even though there are difficulties with being home, they're grateful to have home.
Amazing.
And I'm grateful that we have home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And from your professional perspective as a realtor, you see the Palisades coming back?
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be difficult. I think it's going to take some time. But I don't have a doubt. You know, there's no other place, like, you know, with some of my friends that lived in the Palisades who have lost their homes, lost everything. A couple of them have said this to me, that it was almost too good what we had. You know,
like that too.
Yeah, like, and so when we were so lucky.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that, and now we've all been dispersed and we truly see what Los Angeles is like, and we're just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
I've actually said this, like, if I had to live anywhere but the Palisades, I don't know if I would live in LA. Yeah, maybe like there's a couple of pockets here and there, you know, but and by the way, as a realtor who would, like, let's say show a listing of mine to a prospective buyer that was a young family, it was the easiest sell in the world. You know, like, imagine living in a community where you send your kid to preschool that's local. There's amazing schools from then on. You go to the park and you see all the same people. You get on sports teams with the same people. And it's this village that helps raise your child. I mean, that's how it was with my kids. There's no place in LA that offers that. And then on top of it, there's beautiful mountains and ocean all around you and a really nice lifestyle.
Hi, Aura. Can you tell me what you do professionally?
I am an author. I've written 4 books and a journal. My books are mostly mindfulness based. I'm a mindfulness practitioner, and for those that don't really know what that means, mindfulness is the practice of present moment awareness. And when you think of present moment awareness, most people think of that in, let's say, meditation. You know, you put aside a certain amount of time to sit quietly and quiet the mind and be able to be present. Well, mindfulness is basically taking that same desire and that same mental discipline and taking it off the mat or off the meditation pillow. And it's been something that I have been so committed to for so long, because I love to help people understand that the present moment is the most important moment to be in.
Fantastic. So may I ask you, we're sitting in your extraordinarily beautiful home, and yet you are also affected by the fire. So your home is located in the Palisades, but your community and the whole town and everything's gone. So you are experiencing a certain uniqueness in terms of what you've lost and what you're going through. Could you describe that for us a little bit?
Absolutely. So yes, I'm sitting in my home, my beautiful home that I have tremendous gratitude for, before the fire and during the fire, not knowing whether it would survive or not, and now post-fire, and that yes, my home survived, and I feel very blessed for that. Having said that, loss is a very personal thing, and someone might look at me and think, oh, but she has her home, so what has she gone through? Well, the Palisades Village is, and I will use present tense, is my community. It will always be my community, even though it's been devastated, and it's tragic to see what has happened to the Palisades Village. I was there sometimes 4 or 5 times a week. That's where my younger son went to elementary school, the village school. That's where he learned how to play baseball, at the Palisades Park. The restaurants there I would go to, my dry cleaner, the bank. And I knew the workers. They were people that I really adored and I supported. And that's called supporting your community, and the community that has been such an important part of my life, my family's life, and why we moved to the Palisades, because of being so close to such a beautiful community like the Palisades community. And now with what's happened with the fire, I know that we're all grieving the loss of not only those that have lost their homes, and I have many friends that have lost their homes, and some of them their businesses. You know, we're grieving in our own personal ways, and it is a process that has to be respected. It's a process that, again, that's very personal. And the way I grieve might not be the same way that you grieve, or your loss might not be the same as my loss. But what I know is that, yes, I feel like I've lost my community, but in many ways, we're finding a new way to have a community that's going to grow in a whole new way, a community that's going to be stronger than ever, people that are going to connect that maybe we didn't even know each other before. Do you know, you can know the people that you've known in a community, but this has really caused us to know even more people, because we've all been affected by this in some profound way. And I feel that it's bringing us together in a way that is, yes, there's a lot of pain there, there's a lot of sorrow there, but it's bringing us together in a way that is going to make us stronger, and it's going to make us more connected than ever before. And I'm a connector, and I believe in connectivity, and I believe that we probably could always use more connectivity. So I think that this is the way in which it's going to bring us, as I said, closer together than ever before.
Thank you. So the way that I came to you is between our mutual friend, Lisa Gordon, because I'm experiencing such an unusual feeling in terms of grief. And she was like, listen, Aura is like this wildly respected practitioner of mindfulness. Do you have any advice? Of course, you just said it so beautifully that everybody's journey through grief is different and unique. Is there anything you would say from a professional perspective to the community as to how they might grapple with their feelings and what they're going through currently?
Well, from a mindfulness perspective, which again is present moment awareness, being in the moment of which you are in. And in that moment, you're going to feel what you feel that is very much just in that moment. So you might feel a different kind of sadness. Then 20 minutes from that moment, you might feel a little bit more elevated, and you might start to feel more positive. I say feel all the things. It's okay to feel everything that you're feeling. Do not judge it. Allow yourself to feel it. Allow for it to come up and just be with it. I'm a big believer in sitting with yourself, at least at one point in the day, just to sit quietly and to be with yourself, to be able to go a little bit deeper within, and to do what I call take your spiritual pulse. Go within and say, how am I doing? You don't have to explain that to anybody, and it's really not anybody's business how you're doing. You need to know how you're doing. You need to feel how you're feeling, and allow for that. Again, mindfulness, one of the definitions of mindfulness is being in the present moment with total awareness, non-judgment, and self-love.